All right, let's talk about something I think a lot of us know all too well. That little voice in your head, the one that's constantly nagging you. Today, we're going to dig into where that inner critic comes from, why it has so much power, and what it all means.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. Does this hit home for you? That constant internal pressure, that feeling you should be doing more, being better, maybe even being, well, perfect? If you're nodding along, then you're definitely in the right place. Let's get into it. To really get a handle on that inner critic, we've got to go back to the very beginning, to a core idea from the incredible psychoanalyst Karen Horney. She called it basic anxiety, and trust me, it's the root system for so much of this stuff. Now, it's so important to get what she means here. This isn't just, being stressed about a deadline or nervous about a party. Horney's talking about a deep, foundational insecurity. It's that feeling a small child might get that the world is a big, scary place, and they're all alone in it.
Horney had this brilliant way of thinking about it. She believed we all have a real self inside, kind of like an acorn that's just waiting to grow into a huge oak tree. But for that to happen, it needs the right conditions. Things like warmth, feeling safe, and being allowed to have your own opinions. When those things are missing, that's when basic anxiety can really take root.
Okay, so what happens when that anxiety starts to creep in? Well, we don't just sit there and take it. We're smart. We develop these coping strategies, these automatic moves that are all designed to make us feel a little bit safer in a world that feels kind of threatening.
Horney basically laid out 3 main moves. We can move toward people, against people, or away from people. And look, we all do these from time to time, right? That's totally normal. But what she's talking about is when one of these becomes our default setting, our go-to rigid strategy for everything. And today we're really going to zero in on that first one, moving toward people, what we now call the people pleaser.
And this is where it gets really, really crucial. For the people pleaser, this isn't just about being nice. Their whole feeling of safety, their entire world is built on getting love and approval. Like Horney says here, their need for affection becomes a claim. It's not a wish anymore. It feels like a life or death necessity. So how on earth do you guarantee you get that approval 24/7? Well, you create an impossible set of rules for yourself. You build an internal prison, policed by a relentless inner tyrant. This is what Karen Horney so perfectly named the tyranny of the shoulds. Let's be clear, this isn't just healthy goal setting. Not at all. This is about creating an idealized, almost godlike version of yourself. The perfect partner, the perfect friend, the most selfless person in the room. And then you live in the painful gap between that impossible image and, well, the real, messy human you. And the voice of this inner tyrant, it's just brutal. This quote is Horney's imagined command from that idealized self. It basically says there's no room for mistakes, no room for being human. You must be the ideal, and your actual self is something defective that needs to be hidden away. This slide just lays out the difference so perfectly. Genuine ideals, they come from you. They're what you really want, and they give you strength. But the shoulds, oh man, they are a completely different beast. They're an outside force, an inner straitjacket that could not care less about your real feelings or limits. They don't free you, they trap you. I mean, wow. Horney used this quote from a poet, and it just hits so hard, doesn't it? That would-be is your idealized self, that perfect version you're chasing. And it literally feels like a vampire, just draining all the life and energy out of your real self, leaving you constantly exhausted.
Okay, so if you're listening to all this and thinking, wow, that sounds uncomfortably familiar, then the biggest question is, what can you actually do about it? How do you even start to silence that inner tyrant?
Horney's path forward isn't some 10-step program. It's a journey, really, of becoming more aware. It starts by just noticing those shoulds when they pop up. Then it's about taking back the steering wheel of your own life. And finally, and this is the hardest part, it's about trying to listen for that much quieter voice underneath all the noise, the voice of your real self.
So here's the most hopeful part of all this. The goal is not to win a battle and finally become the perfect person your shoulds demand. No. Horney believed we all have this amazing, built-in drive to grow. The real work is just getting the tyranny of the shoulds out of the way so that natural, constructive force inside you can finally start to breathe.
And that's what we want to leave you with today, this one big question. It's not easy, for sure, but just asking it is a huge step. If you could somehow just mute that relentless voice of the shoulds, what do you think your real self, the actual you, would have to say? What do you really want? That's where the journey begins.